Welcome to Taco's eye animation and coloring tutorial. This is the second part of the first one. It's in whatever. Anyway, so we're going to be covering eye animation and coloring. And the way that we're going to animate the eyes is through a process called masking. So what we have is the eye layer, and above the layer of the eye we have a square or a circle, and you might want to make it invisible except for the outline, and then you make the layer above the eye masked, whatever, and anything outside of the square or circle, the mask, isn't shown. And right here I'm moving it into the emotion that I want it to. Right now we're doing happy. So I make a new keyframe each time, and I move the bottom part of the square up a little bit, and it makes a crescent moon shaped eye. And right here I'm adding a bit of a few frames so that it stays happy for a little while. And now we're going to revert it back to normal. So what we do is we copy the frames from the happiness emotion, and then we reverse them, and they go from happy to normal. And we're going to do that with the other eye. And we're reversing them. And as you can see, he gets happy, then he gets normal again. This is a process that Can has used. I've just recently began using it. Okay, now we're going to make him sad. So we're adding another keyframe for the mask, and instead of bringing the bottom up, we're bringing the topper, or the upper, what the fuck ever, the top down, and Can's messaging me. And I write, I'll probably still be here in 3 hours. Okay, and you basically do that with the other eye. And he messages me again. Okay, so we copy the frames and we paste them at the end of the frames that we currently have of the happy or the sad emotion, and we reverse them so that it goes back to normal. But you see, well, I'm not sure if it's this one or if it's on the next one. Yeah, it's right here. We actually have to make a, yeah, see, I delete everything from those frames, and I went back and copied the mask whenever none of it was when everything was over the eyes, so that it would revert back to the normal, like so. Okay, now we're going to replace the squares, and we're going to make them, well, right here I tried to do it with squares. You'll see that it kind of failed. And not only that, but I didn't actually make a keyframe each movement on accident. So we just go back and we delete them, delete the squares that we're masking, and instead of squares, I make a circle, and this will give us a more free emotion range for us to have quizzical sad, not sad, angry, other things like that. Okay, make them invisible all except for the outline, and it's just the same process except it's going from the upper right or the upper left and moving them to the lower right or the lower left, like so. And right here I accidentally touched show masking, which doesn't show you the mask layer, it shows you what the frame looks like masked. So the way to fix that is to unlock it. Alright, and now we're just going back to what we did earlier, and we're copying the angry animation and the one before it so that it goes back to the full circle, and we're reversing them so that it shows the normal emotion, whatever. Paste frames and reverse frames. Okay, let's look at it, and it looks pretty good. That's goddamn Hanna-Barbera right there. That's another animation production team that I know of. Okay, now we're going over the coloring, and you can see that I'm not using the standard green, red, and blue color system. I'm using the hue, saturation, and brightness, as you can see. And instead of changing the colors or changing the saturation from the normal sides, I'm using the sliders that would typically show red, green, and blue. And here I accidentally fuck up all the colors. But if something needs to be darker, you just change it in the brightness. If something needs to be lighter, you change it in the brightness. If you want something to be gray or more colorful, you change the saturation, and the hue changes what color it is. And you can see it was already an outline of Can. Now right here is the shading. And most people will make a new layer, and they'll make a new layer, and then they'll put black where they want shade. But what I do is I put a line where I'm going to want the shades, and I use the eyedropper tool, and I change the brightness down a bit so it shows shade, and I do that to all the colors. And we have one more to go. Don't ever use lines for your final animation. I think it makes everything look tacky and awful. Unless you're using like frame by frame, and everything's frame by frame, and everything's done with the brush tool. Don't use straight black unless for outlines with the brush tool. And see, that's the red, green, and blue system that I'm doing right there. But instead of red, green, blue, I use the HSB, which works a lot better for me, and I definitely recommend it. Thank you, and if you can, favorite, thumbs up, and comment on my video, and that will really help us. Thank you.